In today's video, we have a lot of great news to talk about. We've got updates for The Mandalorian Season 3, Andor, and The Acolyte, so let's dive straight into it, starting with Mando Season 3, and what an amazing week it's been for Mando news. We recently had the information from Making Star Wars that the Season 3 poster releases on December 14th, the final trailer's coming Christmas Day, and the third season itself drops on February the 22nd. That's the recent rumour, but today guys, more pieces of the Mando puzzle are coming together. And just a quick warning, possible spoilers ahead. So as you're probably aware if you've been following my videos, it's been long rumoured that Christopher Lloyd would feature in Season 3, and that he's playing an old Mandalorian clan chief who is the rival to another leader of a separate group of ancient Mandalorians, and it's said we're going to meet him on Mandalore itself when Din Djarin and Grogu go there. Well, after months of hints and the actor avoiding questions, it seems as though the cat is finally out of the bag. Taking to Twitter following the recent news, the legendary Back to the Future actor said the following: "I can't say yet, but the future holds something very special for you. Stay tuned." I quote retweeted this with "This is the way," and a lot of other Star Wars fans caught on to exactly what project he's referring to, The Mandalorian. Now, I do wonder if he's only saying this now because we're only a month and a half away from the final trailer, and marketing will pick up in a big way once Andor finishes, and probably throughout the release of The Bad Batch Season 2 as well. I wonder if he himself actually appears in the Season 3 final trailer. Just as we got in the teaser trailer at D23, I hope the final trailer for the third season includes more Mandalorian faces. And so staying on the subject of The Mandalorian, while also providing a nice segue to our next topic, let's clarify something concerning Andor viewership. A couple of weeks ago, Brandon Katz, the Parrot Analytics data analyst, posted a damning graphic that shows Andor's concerning audience numbers, but then he issued a correction and apology, because apparently while Andor was still behind other Star Wars shows, especially when compared to their respective streaming landscapes, it's performing much better than expected, even hitting, quote, exceptional demand in several instances. And so fast forward to the last couple of episodes, and demand for Andor has not only increased, but is now nearing Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett levels, according to the correction. The firm calculates demand by using a proprietary system that gathers data from numerous sources, and this includes social media like Twitter, search traffic like Google Trends, internet blogs, YouTube videos, you name it, and the study revealed that Andor's audience demand is now 34 times higher than the average TV show, right on par with The Mandalorian, and as the series goes on, interest mounts. I've often heard the show being called a slow burn, but at this stage, after episode 8 and 9, it's a burning scorch. I've loved this series, the experience has been amazing, they've achieved so much in terms of world building, pacing, great dialogue, character crafting, and proving that good Star Wars TV shows are all about the story. And while some Star Wars fans thought that Andor had a lot going against it, notably no Force users or many familiar characters, that ended up being its biggest perk, expanding these new characters, but also characters we recognised but weren't too familiar with. And fans on the whole who love this series are very enthusiastic for the final few episodes, but also the potential for what this means for future Star Wars stories. Could this be a lesson for Disney Plus? Each episode keeps getting better and better. While the first half of the season was very strong, the start of the second has been absolutely phenomenal. Next week, episode 10 out of 12 is the final one of this 3-episode story arc, and then we have a 2-episode finale, 11 and 12. Super exciting stuff, guys, and I'm sure interest is going to amount over time. Even after the series is over, there are tons of fans who will discover it, and many Star Wars fans at the moment are holding out until the entire series has dropped so they can go and watch the whole thing at once. But the lowdown is Parrot Analytics apologised and basically confessed they made a mistake. And so staying on the subject of Andor, we do have a couple of really interesting stories. Don't go anywhere guys, because after the next one, we're going to be talking about Andy Serkis' comments on his two characters, Kino and Snoke, and he also addresses something regarding the latter, so stay tuned. But as I say, first of all, we have another story. Andor Season 2 directors have been revealed. As we know according to Bespin Bulletin, Andor Season 2 goes into production this month. Let's see what Collider had to say. While the first season of Tony Gilroy's Andor is still airing on Disney Plus, the showrunner is already knee-deep in preparing for Season 2, which will ramp up the anxiety as it heads towards the devastating events of Rogue One. During an interview with Collider's own Steve Weintraub, Gilroy shared that a brand new slate of directors are going to be joining in Season 2, and in typical Tony Gilroy fashion, he did not hesitate on revealing their names, and so Collider says they're very excited to share that Ariel Kleiman, Janice Metz, and Alonso Ruiz Palacios have been tapped to direct episode blocks in the second season season, and again guys, there are going to be blocks of 3 episodes. But the pacing of season 2 is much more intense because each block is a year as we move ever closer to Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Collider goes on to say that Andor broke from Star Wars tradition, opting to bring in only 3 directors and tasking them to direct blocks of episodes that tied into the narrative arcs being explored. Gilroy confirmed that this structure would return in season 2, with Kleiman stepping in to direct the same pattern as Toby Haynes by directing 6 episodes, split into 2 blocks. Since 2017, Kleiman has really solidified himself as a TV director, with his most recent work being seen on Yellow Jackets and The Resort. Danish filmmaker Metz has directed for a handful of TV shows, but his most notable work was this year's spy thriller, All the Old Knives. Fans of Diego Luna's work outside of Andor might be familiar with the third director's name, Ruiz Palacios. The Mexican filmmaker directed a pair of episodes of Narcos Mexico back in 2018 for Netflix, before then directing episodes of Outer Range. So again, some incredible talent working on this show. And so now guys, the final Andor story before we move on to the Acolyte. Andy Serkis, who plays Kino in Andor and also played Snoke in the sequels, gave a very telling interview with the playlist. He was asked about the 2 characters he played, and he confirmed 2 things. First of all, Kino has nothing to do with Snoke. A lot of fans thought maybe there's a connection, but there's really not, and it would kind of be impossible. Not just timeline-wise, but also the fact that Snoke was a Palpatine Strandcast, and Kino is entirely human. Andy also said that when he got the call from Lucasfilm to be in the Andor series, he did assume he was playing Snoke, but he was kind of relieved to be doing something different. But speaking on the subject of the Supreme Leader of the First Order, Andy does say he thinks Snoke deserves a backstory, and he hopes to see more of him in the future. What I will say is that he's just got to wait for The Mandalorian Season 3, because Snoke is coming. I know a lot of fans don't want to admit it, and some fans think The Mandalorian is steering clear of the sequels. That is not the case, as you're going to see in February. Whether they should stay clear or not is a different story, but just speaking from what is going to happen, I think we are going to see the setup for the eventual Force Awakens. That's what Jon Favreau even teased he was going to do. He said to Entertainment Weekly there are these stories coming up in the future, and they're trying to bridge the gap between the original trilogy and the sequels, giving them more context, obviously doing different stories with The Mandalorian, carrying on stories from Star Wars Rebels, but eventually tying in the political landscape, and as I've said in the past guys, it all started in Chapter 12. And so finally, my dear Mandalorians, according to AboveTheLine.com, the Acolyte has cast Daphne Keane from Logan. Daphne currently stars in HBO fantasy series His Dark Materials as the young protagonist Lyra. No further details are provided, but she is the latest addition to Leslie Headland's upcoming High Republic series. So share your thoughts in the comments down below guys. What do you make of all of these juicy updates? If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always.